Hello, everybody. Welcome back from lunch. Thank you for coming over to this breakout session. Again, my name is Megan Knowlton, and I'm here from Swire Coca-Cola, USA. We are a Coca-Cola bottling company, and we're based down in Draper, so not too far from here. And we also operate all across different western states here in the United States. And I'm happy to be here representing how businesses interact with water and how we get involved in watershed replenishment projects. All right, so I wanted to start with a little bit of a background on the company that I work for. So again, we're Swire Coca-Cola USA. I only started with this company about 5 months ago. So still pretty new to the company, which I think gives me some pretty fresh eyes on the types of sustainability activities that we're doing. So here's a map of all of our operating area in the states. We've got 13 different states that we cover. And I wanted to bring up, we're actually growing almost exponentially in the next year and a half or so. So this map is going to grow. And I bring that up because I wanted to share that that's also part of our environmental journey. You know, as we continue on and grow, it's something that businesses have to think about as we grow, is how do we still keep up with our environmental and sustainability initiatives. My background is in water resources. I have a master's in environmental management in water resources planning. So I've done hydrological modeling, I've done all that jazz, but I decided to move into sustainability, and I thought that I could really make a good impact in the business world, and so that's why I looked to the Coca-Cola system. Our parent company was founded as John Swire and Sons in England in 1816, so that's why we have this fun little graphic up here that shows 200 years. After 1816, John Swire and Sons bought a trading company in China, which eventually became Swire Pacific Limited, and that is our parent company, actually. And so they're based in Hong Kong. From there, Swire Pacific Limited bought the bottling franchise rights for Coca-Cola in Salt Lake City in 1978. And that's when we became Swire Coca-Cola USA here in Salt Lake City in 1978. We've got our bottling facility right here in West Valley, and again, our headquarters in Draper. Since then, our parent company has been buying different bottling franchise rights throughout the West, and so we continue to grow as we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So our major partner, as you might guess, is the Coca-Cola company based in Atlanta. So we are a bottling company. We bottle Coca-Cola beverages and we distribute them as well. So, you know, you see our trucks or contracted trucks driving around bringing Coca-Cola beverages to your restaurants or your grocery stores. So our sustainability initiatives at Swire align with those of Coca-Cola. And you can see 4 of the top sustainability pillars that Coca-Cola distributes to its bottling companies. And so, as you might imagine from these 4 pillars, water plays into every single one of these. Now, we're going to focus for this presentation on the one on your far left, which is going to be water stewardship. I did want to show you, though, a graphic that demonstrates our carbon dioxide emissions and water usage across the Coca-Cola system in North America. And what you can see is the majority of water is used in ingredient and packaging production. Now, bottling companies don't have as much of a say in sourcing our ingredients or our packaging. So you'll find as I continue to talk in this presentation that what I'm really focusing on is manufacturing. That's where our bottling company can really make a big difference. And then how we continue to restore water to the planet outside of what's within our bottling plant doors. So moving right along to Swire's water conservation goals. In 2010, along with the Coca-Cola company, we set several goals that we wanted to accomplish by the year 2020. Those were to improve the water efficiency in our plants by 25% from a 2010 baseline. It was to help ensure healthy, resilient freshwater systems, especially in key water-restricted regions. And as you can recall from that first map I showed you, everywhere that Swire operates in the States or practically everywhere, is a water-restricted region, except for maybe some parts of the Pacific Northwest. So we work a lot to understand the areas that we're operating in and the watersheds that we exist in. And finally, and I'll describe this a little bit more in a few slides, we set the goal to replenish 100% of the water that we use in our products and in their manufacturing to nature by the year 2020. And I'll get into what that means in a little bit. So sometimes people ask me, or they ask our director of sustainability, my boss, they'll ask, why does Coca-Cola work on water stewardship? Why do you do that? And so there are some pretty obvious reasons why companies that want to be good environmental stewards participate in water stewardship, right? It's a life-sustaining resource for communities and ecosystems. It's a resource that everybody shares and everybody must manage. And that's something that I've really found to be part of the tenet of Swire Coca-Cola is we really understand and believe that water is an issue where everybody has a seat at the table, and that includes business. And so we have to do our part as well. Furthermore, to make the business case in our company as to why we work on water stewardship, it's the #1 ingredient in all of our products or in all of our beverages. So in order to maintain the #1 ingredient, it makes sense to work in the stewardship thereof. And finally, it's also essential to our manufacturing processes, both for maintaining high quality product and also for maintaining high hygiene, good hygiene. So as I just mentioned, in 2010 with the Coca-Cola Company, we established the goal of returning to communities and nature an amount of water equivalent to that which we use in our products and in their production by the year 2020. And I'm happy to say that the Coca-Cola Company announced that on a global scale, the Coca-Cola system now replenishes 100% of that water a few years in advance of the 2020 goal. That's very exciting and something that everybody in the Coca-Cola system is proud of. And we at Swire really take an opportunity to work in the replenishment projects as well. And so we feel quite proud of that as well. So how do we work toward water stewardship, right? I've been talking about why it's important to us and what goes into our products. And so the question is, where do we put our money where our mouth is, right? So at Swire Coca-Cola, we have 2 production plants currently. We're going to have 6 by the end of next year. So the first way that we look at water conservation is, first of all, to just reduce how much we use, right? So if we're going to go counterclockwise in this little graphic, we start with reduction at the top, and that's a picture inside one of our plants. So we work on improving our efficiencies and tracking our water usage ratios. Next, and kind of in a similar vein, we try to recycle and reuse as much water as possible in our manufacturing plants. So used water can go into non-product activities like cooling towers, for example. Next, and something that I hold very dear to my heart, kind of having a background in hydrology, is our risk management side. So we have hydrogeologists and other experts help us figure out what are the risks involved in the watersheds that we operate within. And finally, once we've worked on all of those activities that are within our own doors, we go out into nature and into our communities and we try to replenish water to the environment. And I'll go into some examples of that in a little bit. So first, going into water conservation in our watersheds, or understanding our watersheds, we build source vulnerability assessments, and we update those about every 5 years for each of our manufacturing plants. We bring in outside experts to write these plans. So they're looking at everything in our operating areas. They're looking at the watershed hydrology, land use, who are the major land users and water users. We look at regional water supply plans. We look at potential climate risks, anything from climate change risks to shorter term climatic events like El Nino events. Especially in the West, of course, looking at water rights can be pretty important, and permitting, of course. And we look at social and community issues as well to make sure that we understand what it's going to take to be a good neighbor and a good community member. Something that's interesting to the Coca-Cola system is that we tend to be pretty local in the way that we produce and distribute beverages. where we produce them a lot of the time is largely where we distribute and sell them as well. So if we want to maintain our business's resilience, then it makes sense to try to maintain the resilience of all those in our communities as well. So as I said, we get outside experts to build these plans, and we make plans for each of our plants. It's sort of like an operating plan where we can check in every now and then to make sure that we're using water in the most responsible way possible. Okay, so I'm happy to report that since 2006, we've been tracking our water use ratio in a very concerned way, and we've avoided the use of about 1 billion liters of water from 2006 to 2016. That equates to about 25% reduction in water usage in our plants since 2006. And this graph here I wanted to show you, this is the way that we track water in our plants daily and monthly and yearly. So you're looking at a yearly graph here and seeing the change in water use ratio from 2006 to 2016. And what that shows is the amount of water that we bring into our plant versus the amount of water that goes directly into the products. All right, so then once we've worked to conserve water in our plants, and we're constantly looking for opportunities for conservation and for improving efficiencies in our plants. Once we are already kind of working along that and we're feeling good about it, we also need to figure out how else do we be good neighbors in our communities. And so one way to do that is to get out into the field and do water replenishment projects, as we call them. And here's a picture of some of us volunteering at a Replenish event a few months ago. That's me over on your far right with the awesome pink gloves, and my boss in the middle there, that's our Director of Sustainability at Swire, Coca-Cola USA. His name is Mike Bernier, if anybody's ever met him before. He wanted to be here today, but he is explaining our environmental initiatives to our parent company in Hong Kong right now. So I let him go do that, I guess. So I think a lot of the time when we talk about replenishment, the numbers don't necessarily make sense right away. Or it's hard to picture. I know when I first started working with the Coca-Cola system, I didn't really understand what it meant or how you calculate that. So the basic formula for figuring out how much water we want to replenish. So when we say, we've replenished 100% of our water, what is that amount? We calculate that by the amount of products that we make plus the amount of water that leaves our doors as wastewater. Some plants in the US treat their own wastewater, some send it to outside treatment facilities. But at the end of the day, it's the amount of product and the amount that goes out our doors. Okay, and then the next question that I get people asking sometimes is, what do you mean by a replenishment project? And what I mean is usually it's some kind of stream restoration project, maybe a meadow restoration. We're trying to recharge an aquifer, that kind of project. So I wanted to show you an example here in Utah. This is up in the Weber River watershed, actually. So this was a rancher at Chalk Creek. He had a whole bunch of fields that he used for his cattle. And he had a water diversion structure right here for flood irrigation. So as I'm sure most people in this room know, flood irrigation is not exactly the most efficient irrigation method, right? You get a lot of evapotranspiration. A lot of it's just not necessary. It's not efficient. And to add on top of that, it was dewatering downstream reaches of the stream. So you can see here, there's just a little trickle of water that was making it over that. And so we went in there with several different groups, partners, including Trout Unlimited, because they were starting to get concerned about the Bonneville cutthroat trout and maintaining habitats for them in Chalk Creek. So we went in and put in a water pump. And so that was pumping water out instead of completely diverting all water. Then we put in 3 large irrigation structures that look like this. And finally, this is a previously dewatered reach of the stream that now has water returned to it, and it's looking pretty healthy. And that was just taken not too long ago. We like to share this number with you. in Chalk Creek and at another project we have in Idaho, we replenish as a system. Swire replenishes about 275 million liters of water annually, which is more than 100% replenishment for us if we're just thinking within our own Swire territories. So then another example of replenishment projects, and this is a much larger scale one, this is the Change the Course campaign. It's a partnership between Coca-Cola North America, a bunch of other businesses, corporations. We've got media organizations, big NGOs. Everybody has come together to try to return the Colorado River to reaching the ocean. And so what we do is we have people, everyday people, take a pledge to be good water stewards. And from there, we sponsor projects that help restore the Colorado River. And you can see a few of the partners up there on that slide. I'll have another slide about partners in a moment, because I never want to understate how important partners are to us. So one thing that I've learned since joining Swire and since joining the Coca-Cola system, for those who came in late, I've only been with Swire Coca-Cola USA for about 5 months now. Been in the Coca-Cola system a little bit longer. But one thing that I've learned with my fresher eyes on it is that Coca-Cola is, as a system, is one of the leaders, or really the leader in corporate water stewardship. And I find that so fascinating. People will come to Coca-Cola for help on developing corporate water stewardship programs. Even competitors will come and ask them for help. And it's been such an interesting journey to work with them and learn about how Coca-Cola as a system does water responsibility and water stewardship. So with that in mind, I wanted to share a few of our main lessons learned, if you will, from our water journey. And I'm sure that most of us have seen these main lessons from pretty much any water restoration project you've ever worked on, or any type of public-private partnership you've ever worked within. So the number one lesson, of course, is that we must form meaningful partnerships. And when we partner with Coca-Cola North America, there are all kinds of different partners that work with us as well. But particularly for Swire, we work with a nice group of national partners. Those include, but aren't limited to, the U.S. Forest Service, which we found to be really helpful to work with. And I believe somebody from the Forest Service is speaking later today. I don't know if he's in the room right now. But we work with Coca-Cola North America, we work with Girl Scouts, Trout Unlimited, as I mentioned, Bonneville Environmental Foundation, and so many more. We also work with local partners on some sustainability-related initiatives as well. And those include Utah Open Lands, Recycling Coalition of Utah, United Way, and Tree Utah. And I've got some pictures of some partners. The top one is actually my boss in the middle there, looking pretty suave as he's looking out at the fields, I don't know. And then below is a picture of one of our partners from Trout Unlimited, and one who is the rancher, actually, who had that diversion structure, and then we went and put irrigation in his fields. And I'm sure you all have seen this type of graphic before, the golden triangle of partnerships. And that's when you get government, business, and nonprofits or NGOs or private citizens involved with partnerships. And we really have found that to be true, that when we can combine the funding and the skills of all of those partners, we can really make a difference with these projects. So to bring that a little bit further, it's more than just forming the partnerships, right? Something that we've found to be true for us is that we have to stay committed and we have to stay accountable. So for us, it's about really being involved with these projects and trusting in our partners to know what they're doing. At Coca-Cola and at Swire, speaking on behalf of myself and my boss at Swire, we are not the stream restoration experts, right? But we work with people, probably some of whom are just like you. Some of you in the audience might be the very type of people that we work with, who we trust in to bring their strengths in restoration projects and in understanding the hydrogeology of the area, to really make these projects work and to make them impactful. And something that I wanted to show you is that this is a picture of a Bonneville cutthroat trout from the Chalk Creek project, looking all happy and healthy in Chalk Creek. To the side is also a picture of a water control structure that was built at another project. And finally, further than just working together, it's staying committed and continuing to check up on the project and check in with our partners, and not just letting it be a one-time thing and once it's over we walk away. So, keeping in touch with our partners, always looking for new projects, visiting the sites periodically can make a really good impact on explaining to our organization why it's important. So here's a picture from just a few months ago. The Chalk Creek project finished a while back, but we went back and visited and had a good time. That's me and my boss, and then the rancher and the representative from Trout Unlimited, just taking a walk around his ranch and looking at the irrigation structures. And you can see that water pump behind me that I showed you a picture of earlier. And finally, those replenishment numbers. So remember I mentioned we replenish 275 million liters of water annually. I didn't calculate that. My boss didn't calculate that. We believe that in order to stay accountable, you have to have somebody else calculate that, right? So we had third-party accounting firms and NGOs, like, for example, the Nature Conservancy, can come in and calculate how much water is really getting replenished to the environment or getting restored to the environment from these types of projects. So with that, thank you for coming and listening to this today. This is my contact information. If anybody has kind of more specific questions, you're welcome to contact me. I also have cards if that's easier. And thank you so much. Hope you have a lovely day.
Thanks, Megan. We have just a minute if anyone has a quick question for Megan. Okay, I'm sure that you can find Megan, or like she said, contact her if you'd like to discuss her program some more. Thanks so much, Megan.
Thank you all very much.